Okay, so this is week one, lecture one. Heat system design is T204, and we'll start with the class objectives. We will understand energy and cost. I'm going to start from the very, very basics. We want to understand what is energy, how does it cost money, and what is this whole thing in the news about saving energy and fossil fuel. We'll talk about the nitty-gritty of these things. Why? Because they do affect us on a daily basis. You're paying for it every day, right? Every day you're paying, every month you're paying a bill, and sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low. You want to understand why. Anybody heard about the Mass Save initiative, trying to pay people to insulate their houses because we're wasting money and bad insulation, and which kind of make you think you're gonna have a lot of jobs, right? You're gonna send somebody to do this heat loss calculation to somebody's house. Okay, Josh's house is spending $600 a month on heat, and where's this heat going? He has this like 4-bedroom house. That's fine. What's going on? Why is he spending too much? I have a student who had like 7-bedroom house, but he's spending $700 on heat every month. This doesn't make sense. Why is this house spending too much money? So Mass Save now is trying to, let's say Chris has a house and his windows are single pane, heat is gushing through those panes, and he doesn't want to spend $8,000 like changing the freaking windows. And he doesn't have that kind of money. That is me. How dare you define me? Okay. So Chris doesn't have $8,000 to spare to put on windows, but he's gonna pay every month around like $200 to extra because he's losing a lot of heat. So the state thought, okay, it's better for Chris and for us actually to subsidize his window replacement than to keep paying for heat. And there is an initiative, you have to apply for it, and it's good for the state, it's good for you to save energy instead of dumping energy into the atmosphere. So we will understand energy and cost, get some awareness on where do we stand as a state, as a town, as a nation, and globally, what's happening and why does energy in a house makes a big difference. Transportation actually is not a big deal when it comes to house heating and cooling, but it's still part of the equation. We'll find ways to cut down energy consumption. On top of your head, what do you think is a good way to cut down on energy in a house? We always talk about lights, right? Huh? Closing the blinds, one thing that will eliminate the heat coming in and out. Changing the lights, appliances, changing windows, closing vents. Yeah.
Timer on the hot water heater if you have one.
Is that okay?
Timer on the
Oh,
hot
yeah.
water heater if you have one.
Yeah, or even not even that. We just use on demand. On demand is way much better now. It's expensive to put, but they are very effective. When you need hot water, you just make hot water. Why am I making it and storing it there for days to lose heat? That's not practical at all. And you're gonna pump it all the way from the basement to the 3rd floor. By the time it got there, it lost like half the temperature. So that's a waste. So why do we need to do that? We'll talk about those and how they function. How do we replace the question?
Also, like the pellet stoves, are we talking about that too?
Yeah, they're very effective in some ways. I'll help you understand how there's no one solution fits all. Every house is different. Every situation is different. How often do you use this room? Do you need to invest in a big furnace in that room? Maybe it's cheaper for you to just put a space here. So every situation is different depending on how you use it, and there's no one size fits all. And you can see also in 2 houses in the same neighborhood can have triple the bill when it comes to cooling. One is just because of the structure and the location, you will put more money into the house than the other. So small little things can make a big difference. Home energy. So if people were here thousands of years ago, people were living all over the globe before the Industrial Revolution. We had people living in the North Pole, Eskimos, people living in Native American living here, people living in Africa, in extreme climates. And human beings are tropical creatures. We like temperature between 60 and 80. Is what we feel comfortable with, mostly. Humidity, we like something between 40 and 60. That's tropical climate. So we migrated, and whenever we go, we take our climate with us because it's what we're comfortable with. There are health reasons and survival reasons for keeping temperatures and humidity at these levels. So the people did survive here a long time ago. They did not have ACs, they did not have heaters. They had different kind of means to conserve energy. And so Native Americans, they had teepees, they have structures that actually were suitable for the climate, and they maintained temperature, and it was comfortable and suitable, maybe not as convenient as what we have now. And orientation was a big deal. Sometimes they relocate village, sometimes they put houses in certain places. There are houses here in Massachusetts built in the early century, and that completely passive, meaning they do not need heating or cooling, just based on the orientation and the material selection. Can you believe that? Yeah, there's a couple of houses in Westfield and some in North Adams. The house does not need any heating or cooling. Maybe a fireplace will be enough for the entire house. That's all. So when we started building cookie cutters houses, when the energy was abundant, that was the slope where we went down and making paper thin walls and fast production material, and we had to pump heat into it because heat was abundant. So why bother about like thinking about how to make the house more efficient and selecting material to hold heat and not leak? So we took a turn to the worst at some point, but now we're trying to regain these experiences by choosing material that will store more heat and will dispense heat slowly throughout the night, and also not have the house get overheated in the summertime. Proper vegetation, housing orientation, where does the sun hit it? There's a lot of techniques you can utilize natural resources. White color houses, probably you see those a lot in South America, South Europe, in Spain. They are trying to think about color, because white color reflects the light, so the house is not heat as much. So if you go to the Middle East or Africa, white color cars are more expensive than colored ones. Nobody wants a dark colored car. It gets hot quickly. So color make a difference. What color you paint the house makes a difference in reflecting the light and absorbing light. We'll talk about that more later on. Also, they use the chimney effect. Chimney effect is basically, we see it all around us, hot air rises, right? So when you have, if I want to cool a place, if I put an opening in the top, all the air will displace and go from the top. And if air escapes from the top, it's gonna pull something from the bottom, right? So the chimney effect is a very simple technique where you actually, probably you're doing it if you go camping, if you have a camping tent, don't you see in the top, they always have those vents? That's to have the chimney effect, so the hot air will rise and escape from the top. So the chimney effect is so cold air will come inside the side, and hot air will rise. And based on the chimney structure, you can control the velocity of the air coming out, how fast you want it to go out. So those are small things we can do, and I will show you also later on how you can cool your house in the summertime without an AC, just by using the right ventilation. Don't you notice sometimes the temperature outside is like 74 and your house is 90? How does this make sense? You know? How is this useful at all? I'm gonna turn the AC, well, the temperature outside is very nice. So it's probably the poorly done ventilation. If the house is properly ventilated in New England, probably you don't even need an AC. If you have an opening in the top and you have proper ventilation in the bottom floor, the house will vent quickly and you do not need a lot of cooling. Meanwhile, if your house is made out of thin walls and dark ceiling or a roof, it's going to absorb a lot of heat. It doesn't have a lot of the proper insulation or the proper ventilation. It will eventually overheat. They also, in the past, they used mud, hay, and stones for construction. What do you think is good about mud and stones? They do not heat or cool faster. They absorb heat and they hold it. And mud also is very good respirator. So if you go to the houses in Africa, they're made out of mud. So when it rains, the mud will absorb the water, and the water will be absorbed by the mud and evaporate from the top. And that will cool the house. There's a cooling effect. There's also this drinking water mud pots in Africa where it's insulated from the bottom with asphalt or so, and the top is respirating. So you can see the water evaporating. What happens when the water evaporates? It cools. It absorbs heat. That's why when you sweat and the sweat evaporates, you feel cooler. But if you sweat in Florida, it does not evaporate. So you just feel sticky. So you go to Arizona, when you have dry heat, you can evaporate. So evaporation leads to cooling. So that's the effect of mud and stones actually hold a lot of heat. So if you have a house that has the sun hit it in the winter for a long time, made out of stone, this heat absorbed by the stones and eventually it will be dispensed throughout the night, and you do not need as much heat. Hay is a very good insulator. Very good insulator. It's very cheap. It's convenient, and they use that mixed with mud to insulate the house and also absorb some heat.
Would hay be a fire hazard as well?
Not if it's insulated. They have it traded sometimes, and they actually mix it with the mud. So the Industrial Revolution and the cost of cheap energy. Again, electricity was invented in 1880. At that time, the population probably wasn't that big. It was like maybe 3 billion. Now, in 1 century, we doubled the amount of human on Earth.
Is that what they say? What's contributing to global warming? More people on
Yeah, there are more people while we're burning more energy. We're burning more energy and consuming more food. So there's a lot of things that have to do with that. And also, it's the greenhouse gases that we are emitting. So global warming is climate change, not global warming. Climate change is actually, it's a fact. Whether we are contributing to it or not, that's the debatable part. But 9 out of 10 scientists say that we are contributing to climate change. So electricity in the 1880s, light bulb was invented around that time. The world's first power station, the late 18th century. In 1908, 8% of American homes had electricity. That's nothing. Probably those are the mansions you see in Rhode Island. 8% only had electricity, and probably it was not that much. And we had more appliances now, so that's not in 1925, 50% had electricity. So that's a big jump. 1930, natural gas started. So heating, instead of having wood, we're using natural gas. So that's adding to the problem. That was in the beginning, it started in 1930, now it's 50% of our energy is depending on gas, whether it's natural or petroleum. Today we have 80% of homes has air conditioning, and it's increasing. That's, by the way, this is from the book that's published in 2010. So probably it's more now. We have more ACs, more conditioning, and air conditioning has the other issue of not only the energy, it's the refrigerant. And refrigerant is very bad for the environment and can lead to a lot of issues on the freon and the ozone layer, etc. You gotta learn about that intensively in those classes. So in the US alone, 5% of the world population and 25% of the world energy supply consumption. So in America, we're using here, we are 5% of the world population, but we are using a quarter of the energy in the world. So we are responsible. Per capita, we're using more energy than anybody else. Again, that's for politicians to think about, not for us. On our level here, we can vote, we can choose. You have a fair choose material that will use less energy or more energy. So these are facts that we have to think about. And again, it takes a lot of organization to change policies because a lot of things depend on it. You cannot just up and run and just change something. There's a lot of consequences. Like for example, when they decided at some point that we're going to stop making electronics in the US, we're not making VCRs and TVs anymore. So they did that. What is the consequence now? Killing an industry is easy. To bring it back, it will take 20 years to bring that industry back. So once you lose it, you're not gonna get it back. What if you one day, again, this is policy talking. What if one day we cannot have trade with China and we need VCRs? What are we gonna do? Yeah, good luck when reopening that industry back. So there's a lot of bigger pictures. It's not like really this easy. When they thought about like during the 2008, the recession, maybe we should not make cars anymore. So it's American cars industry are not doing very well. Maybe we should depend on Toyotas and Hondas and stop making them. Again, there are people with education and experience that can decide these things, and there are always some consequences. We wonder sometimes why you keep making this, and there's other reasons. But again, it's beyond my knowledge, and for what we know, we can make choices here and there when we can. So global warming, facts or fiction? It is a fact. Climate change, it's not global warming, it's change because you see the hot air is getting hotter and sometimes longer. This August was the hottest in record. This past summer was the hottest in record. So we keep hitting records in the last 10 years. So climate change is happening. Places that are flooding more. So there are extremes happening. So these are facts by numbers. Greenhouse gases, the use increased gas production from 16% from 1990 to 2000. By greenhouse gases, we mean carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and other gases that actually hold heat in the atmosphere. So the Earth is surrounded by air. This air composition makes a difference in what's holding the heat and what does not. So the atmosphere is composed of a lot of gases. If we have more carbon dioxide than the other things, it will hold more heat, become kind of an insulator. So we're not emitting heat back into space. Okay? So that's what they mean by greenhouse gases. So you should know it's about greenhouse gases, not about like toxicity or something. Or it could be for some cases. So what about import impact on the economy? That's another thing I have to do with importing fossil fuel or importing energy. It's another different has to do with the economy. But again, we're not concerned with the economy now, we're concerned with what is our part in it. Let's think about producing stuff with lower cost that is good for our energy saving. Our resources now are not sustainable, meaning our energy resources in terms of gas, nuclear, or fossil fuel are not sustainable with the rate we're going through. However, it's not an old movie, you know, I don't like this kind of idea that all we're doing. No, there are people working on alternatives, there are things to do. But changes happen gradually, it doesn't happen overnight. Like, for example, fossil fuel is not gonna stop overnight. You're not gonna wake up tomorrow and say, hey, there's no more fossil fuel. No, it's gonna decrease and increase in price. And at that time, people will take the curve, you know, and come up with other solutions. So it's going to happen. However, at some point, we have to start somewhere to think of alternatives and start to implement. If you see now, we are doing a lot of solar. It's not gonna happen overnight. Step by step, he will put a solar panel, everybody will take, business will get cheaper, people will get more training. Chris was talking about geothermal. Geothermal now is very expensive because it's novice. It's new. But it costs around 60 grand to put a geothermal system in your house. It shouldn't be this much, but again, it's new. So any new technology usually is very expensive. So the first VCR cost around like $2,000 if you remember. They don't know VCRs. Does anybody know a VCR?
Well, look at how plasma screens used to be.
Huh?
When plasma screens first came
Yeah.
out, they were like 10
So
grand.
when things come new, they're very expensive, but they, as we know how to mass produce them, how to make them more efficient and easier to make, it becomes cheaper. So we gotta start somewhere, and we keep at it. At some point, it will be very, very common. I think 10 years from now, everybody will have a solar panel or some kind of less energy focused appliances. progress in renewable energy is slow. Again, that's a lot had to do with policies. And again, policies are very complicated. It's not something easy for the layman person to understand, including me. I really don't understand how policy is made. I just understand the science part of it. And it's for somebody who has to look at the big picture and think what's the country or what's the nation and what the state is going to do. And again, some towns are doing their own things based on their knowledge. I know some, like Westfield, for example, they have new regulation for houses. You cannot sell the house unless it's stamped with the right MPG. This house is efficient, energy efficient, otherwise you cannot sell it or rent it. So some towns are doing their own part, some states are doing their own part. I know Massachusetts is really ahead of the curve when it comes to green energy. Texas is also one of the states that actually have really good electricity system energy policies. So some states are doing that depending on what fits their needs and supplies. And again, as we said before, no one size fits all. Everything is different depending on the needs. It is slow, but it's better than no progress at all. There is progress at least. What are renewable energies? Jason, what do you think is renewable energy?
One of them?
Yeah, give me an example. Huh?
Solar.
Solar is renewable. Okay. Anthony, what else? Give me an example of renewable energy. Come on. An example of renewable energy. Give me an example of what is renewable energy. He says solar. Pass. Okay. Antonio. Give an example. Okay. Pass. Louis.
Louis F?
Huh?
Louis F?
Yeah.
Alright, wind?
Wind. Wind turbines. Wind is renewable. Eric. Hydro. Hydro. Funny. Yeah, let's see. Okay, so these are good examples. We said geothermal, wind turbines, hydro, solar. What makes it renewable? It comes over and over again. It's not gonna run out. It's not gonna run out of wind, right? It's not gonna run out of sun. Well, eventually in millions of years, but not now. So sun is always going to be there. Hydro power is always going to be there. There's always current in the ocean. So always rivers, it's not gonna finish, it's renewable. What about natural gas? Is it renewable? If you can make it, if you can grow it, you can. Maybe you can consider it renewable. What about biodiesel? You can grow corn and make diesel out of it. What about nuclear?
Yeah, it's renewable.
How? You're gonna run out of uranium at some point.
Yeah, I was about to say, you have to replace the uranium rods or whatever it is
Yeah,
in the reactor.
but those are also a resource that you have limited amount of.
Right,
Yes.
right.
They say the whole amount of uranium in Earth, if they collect it together, sorry, in a documentary, so don't quote me on that. If you collect all the uranium in the Earth, it's gonna be as big as a school bus. That's it. But again, I'm not sure about this data. However, it's not renewable because eventually it's green. Why? Because there's no emission. But it's not renewable.
There's still nuclear waste though once it runs out.
But there's no gas emission. It's not like there's no CO2. So you can say it's green.
There's radiation though, that's pretty bad.
That's different.
Is it really green or?
So it's debatable, but when they say green, they think about no emission. Because greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases and green, no emission. Renewable, the source is always going to be there. Okay, we'll stop here and I'll see you Friday.